Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. Help me produce more videos. The names and list of dynasties and kings of Iran before Islam. Government based on creation and justice began after the Paleolithic era, the era of making stone tools, in Iran, which is referred to as the Pishdadi dynasty. The first king and the founder of the previous dynasty was Keomirth, and some believe that the name Gumerda in Avesta is related to him, and Zoroastrians consider him to be the first human. During his time, humans lived in caves and hid their bodies with animal skins. After him, Siavash, Kikusro, Jamshid, and Ghstasab, father of Esfandiar Ruintan, have ruled over Iran. Elamites. In the years 6432 BC, the Elamites established a government as the first centralized power in the area of the Iranian plateau, i.e., the southwest, the lands of Khuzestan, Fars, Ilam, and parts of Bushehr, Kerman, Loristan, and modern Kurdistan provinces, and the Iranian line. They invented it, then their government was destroyed by Ashurbanipal substances 600 years before Christ. The Medes ruled Iran by making Akbadan their capital. Aryans, a people who called themselves Aryans, migrated from the north of the Caspian Sea gradually until 4000 BC to the current Iran and named this land Iran. There were three groups of these people: the Medes, the Parthians, and the Persians, Parsava or Pasargadians. The Medes ruled Iran until 600 BC. The capital of the Median sultans was Akbadan, Hamadan. Hovikstra is considered one of the great sultans of this dynasty, who destroyed the Assyrian Empire with the unification of the Babylonian government, and founded the Aryan royal dynasty in Iran. Achaemenid. The Achaemenids were from the Pasargadian, Persian, and Aryan family, who acquired possessions during the time of Shishpish, but after his death, the country was given to him between his two sons, Aryarmin, the king of Pars, and Koresh, who later became the king of Parsamash. Was divided after Shishpish I, Kamboy I, Cyrus I, and Eresk ruled Iran. After Cyrus the Great defeated Ishtovigo, the last king of the Medes, and then recorded the conquest of Lydia and Babylon, 538 BC. In his records, the Achaemenid kingdom became a great empire. Therefore, Cyrus the Great, who was of Achaemenid descent, is considered the founder of the Achaemenid Empire. The Achaemenid Empire, having a unique navy and conquests that conquered the ancient world except for 2/3 of Greece, i.e., from the Indus River to the Danube in Europe and from Central Asia to Northeast Africa, is considered the first empire in the history of the world. The names of the Achaemenid kings, 330 to 550 BC, in order and with the approximate date of each king's rule. 1. Cyrus the Great, 559 to 539 BC. 2. Cambodia, 522 to 530 BC. 3. Guamat Ma, False Berdia, 522 BC for 7 or 8 months. 4. Darius I, 522 to 486 BC. 5. Xerxes, 485 to 465 BC. 6. Ardashir I, 465 to 424 BC. 7. Xerxes II, 424 BC, less than a year. 8. Sogpanos, 424 to 423 BC. 9. Darius II, 423 to 404 BC. 10. Ardashir II, 404 to 358 BC. 11. Ardashir III, 338 to 358 BC. 12. Ardashir IV, Asses, 336 to 338 BC. 13. Darius III, around 336 to 330 BC. Seleucids. Seleucus Nicator Seleucus Indicator was one of the generals of Alexander the Great, who made himself the ruler of Iran after his death and founded the Seleucid dynasty. Nicator's title Seleucus means the conqueror. He took this title after the defeat of Antigonus and was crowned in Babylon in 312 BC, and this year is considered the beginning of Seleucid or Alexandrian history. After his death in 281, his son, Antiochus I, and after him his son Antiochus II, reached the kingdom. During the time of Antiochus II, the Parthians revolted in Parthian land under the name Peshwa and established the Parthian government. 250 BC. The names of the sultans of the Seleucid dynasty from 324 to 249 BC were, respectively, 1. Seleucus I, his rule from about 312 to 280 BC. 2. Antiochus I, his rule from 280 to 261 BC. 3. Antiochus II, his rule from 261 to 250 BC. Parthians. The king of this dynasty was called Arshak, and the name of Parthians is attributed to him. He founded a dynasty that lasted nearly 500 years, around 250 BC to 224 AD, or 238 BC to around 226 AD, and it became known as the longest government in the history of Iran. The order of the names of the kings of the Parthian dynasty. 1. Arshak, first Ter, 250-247 BC. 2. Turdid I, Ash II, 211 to 247 BC. 3. Ordvan I, Ash III, 211 to 191 BC. 4. Phrayapet, the fourth Tier, 176 to 191 BC. 5. Farhad I, Ash V, 171 to 176 BC. 6. Merdad I, Ash VI, 140 to 171 BC. Merdad Kabir is the first great Parthian king who brought the Parthian state to the status of an Eastern empire. From 160 to 140 BC, he ruled the states of Media, Pars, Khorasan, Babylon, Assyria, Herat, and Sistan. Made it part of Iran. And when the king captured the Seleucids, he treated him kindly and gave him residence in Gorgan and married his daughter for goodwill. His good reputation caused him to be considered one of the most influential people in the history of Iran. 7. Farhad II, Ash VII, 140 to 128 BC. 8. Ardan II, Ashkam VIII, 123 to 128 BC. 9. Merdad II, Ashknam, 123 to 87 BC. 10. Goders I, 78 to 91 BC. 11. Arad I, 78 to 76 BC. 12. Sentruk or Sinatruk, 10th Tier, 76 to 70 or 69 BC. 13. Farhad III, Ash the 11th, 70 or 69 to 58 or 57 BC. 14. Merdad III, Ash the 12th, 58 or 57 to 56 BC. 15. Ard II, Ash 13, 56 to 37 or 36 BC. It is said that the buildings of Nishapur and Gandhishapur were also built during his time. He died in 271 AD. He closed his eyes. After him, 7 people sat on the throne until it was the turn of Shapur II. The conditions during this period were not very favorable, and the Arab tribes had raided and plundered the borders of Iran and Mesopotamia. Therefore, the first move of Shapur II was to fight and suppress the invading Arabs and the deserters of North Khorasan. But after finishing it, the long-standing differences between Rome and Iran caused another war. Shapur II brought the Romans to their knees in the war to the extent that they agreed to accept all Iran's conditions and not interfere in the affairs of Armenia. After the death of Shapur II, 5th century, 10 Sassanid kings ruled over Iran, the most famous of whom was Bahram Ghor. During Bahram's time, Christianity spread in Rome and it was considered their official religion already. 8th century, he had attracted the opinion of all Christians. So Christians in Iran were accused of collaborating with the Romans and were often reprimanded and punished, especially since the number of Christians in Iran was increasing every day. This caused chaos in the internal situation of Iran. In the meantime, Zoroastrian priests put double pressure on the government to suppress the Christians, and they pressured the opinion of the kings on religious freedom until the time of Bahram V, Bahram Ghor. This issue caused a renewed dispute between Iran and Rome and the start of a war, but this war ended in peace without any of the parties prevailing over the other, and it was decided that Zoroastrianism in Rome and Christianity in Iran would be completely free. But Zoroastrian priests did not agree to this contract and refused to accept it. After Bahram V, Iran experienced 4 other kings until it was the turn of Kabad I. He ascended the throne in 487 or 470 AD. At this time, the Sassanid government was involved in many problems, the most important of which was the continuous foreign wars that every few year affected the country's economy. Differences caused by the extravagance of Zoroastrian priests and senior officers with the kings. Differences between the elders over seeking more privileges. Greater class distance in the Sasanian society. Mazdak's intervention. And creating a gap in the decisions and unity between the elders. Kabad dealt with these problems until the kingdom reached Khosrau, Anushirvan. He restored the power of the Sassanids with his measures of serious reforms and supervision and pacifying the military, and made his rule brilliant in the Sassanid dynasty. During the time of Khosrau Anushirvan, big cities were built in Iran. Ctesiphon, the capital of the Sassanians, was considered one of the most magnificent cities of that time. He also built luxurious palaces for himself, the ruins of one of which, called Takashri or Ivan Madain, are still standing. Of course, during this period, the construction of porches in buildings became popular. Also, by his order, a university was built in Jandi Shapur. In this city, medical knowledge flourished, and doctors from Iran and other countries of the world started working there. After Anushirvan, his son Hormuz IV ascended to the throne. At that time, the Turks attacked the north of Khorasan. Bahram Chuban, one of the senior commanders, went to battle against them and was able to win a great victory by defeating them. Bahram's great fame worried the king, and he did not receive Bahram well on his return. This caused Bahram's rebellion, in which Hormuz was killed, and Bahram Choban became the king of Iran. But Khosrau Parviz, one of the sons of Hormuz, fled to Rome and was able to equip an army and fight with Bahram by giving many concessions to the Romans, which eventually led to his victory. During the reign of Khosrau Parvez, Christians gained more influence in the court through one of his wives named Mariam, who was the daughter of the Roman emperor. This caused the secret dissatisfaction of Mobdin. After the Roman Caesar was killed by the Roman rebels, Khosrau Parvez used this as an excuse to open up his country and his conquests from the side of Syria, Palestine, and Lebanon to the Mediterranean Sea, and the other part of his army from the side of Asia Minor to the gates of Constantinople, Roman capital, advanced. Egypt was captured by the Iranians, and the Iranian forces had actually reached the shores of the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, and the continuation of the war required a naval force, which Iran, unlike the Romans, lacked this power. At this time, Heraclius offered peace to Khosrau Parviz. This offer was desired by the Iranian commanders, but the Shah of Iran refused to accept it, and finally the continuation of the war led to the defeat of the Iranians. And because the main culprit of this failure was the Shah of Iran, and the military were fed up with his misbehavior, so they rioted and arrested and imprisoned the Shah and finally killed him in prison. This war, which lasted for 25 years, weakened the foundations of the Sassanid dynasty, and its fall are considered in history. One of the most important events during Khosrau Parvez's rule is the letter of the Prophet of Islam and his invitation to this religion, which he did not accept and tore the letter of the Prophet. Finally, after Khosrau Parviz, 628 or 629, his son named Shirviya Kabad II sat on the throne, who was deposed or killed in the same year. During those days, chaos in Iran reached its peak, so that within 4 years, more than 10 people sat on the throne, but were immediately deposed or killed, until Yazgird III in 632 AD came to the throne. At this time, Mazdak, the son of Bamdadin, propagated his religion, although the founder of this religion was Zoroaster Court Babundis. Mazdak's beliefs were based on 2 manic dualities, which were the wise light, goodness with reason, and the ignorant darkness, evil or ignorance. And they said that these 2 forces constantly clashed with each other, and since the light is wise, it finally overcomes the darkness and ignorance will win. The basis of Mazdak's social teachings was based on equality and justice, to the extent that it is said that they also believed in the obscenity of women. In those days, many people quickly followed the religion of Mazdak, but the Mazdaki movement was severely suppressed by killing him and his followers. The arrival of Islam in Iran in the year 633 AD, equal to 12 and during the caliphate of the first caliph, the Muslim army under the command of Khalid bin Walid, with the advice and guidance of Mushani bin Haritha, who was in his service during the time of Khosrau Parvez, reached the shrines of Iran in Mesopotamia. In the year 14 Hijri, equal to 636 AD, Arab armies won against the Iranian army under the command of Rostam Farrukhzad in the Battle of Qadisiyah, and the city of Madain, the capital of the Sassanids, fell, and Yazgard III, who was the king of Iran at that time, fled to the center of Iran. In the year 21 AH, near Nahavand, the Sassanid troops lined up against the Arabs. In this war, the Sassanid army was also defeated, and Yazgard III retreated to the north of Khorasan, and the Arabs captured the cities of Iran one after another. In the year 31 Hijri, Yazgard III was killed by one of his opponents in the north of Khorasan, and thus in the year 31 Hijri, corresponding to 652 AD, the ruling era of the Sassanid dynasty became extinct.